Welcome back to Creative Encounter Podcast. I'm your host, Juiette Payne, and I'm so excited to have you back here. Hey, if you are just here for the first time, welcome. So excited to have you here. I have a special guest here, Hannah Lynn Miller. We're going to have a great time. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
This is going to be a great time. I'm so excited. All right, before we jump in, I do want to say that Creative Encounter can be found on multiple platforms. So you can watch us on YouTube if you're watching. Hello. You can watch us on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify, and you can listen on Apple Podcasts and other platforms as well. On Spotify, please leave a rating. And on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. That would really help us out. But back to Hannah, we have a radio host and podcast host, Hannah Lynn Miller. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for the invite. Course. This is going to be a blast.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So Hannah and I, we met back in, I think it was 2019, because these years are like flying by with the pandemic and everything.
I know. Yeah. I feel... Yeah. I feel like it does just kind of blend together.
It's crazy.
Those 2-3 years. Are you sure it was 2019?
It was, because we came up to Moody.
Yeah.
Gabby won something to like a meet and greet. Yeah, so it had to have been 2019 because they wouldn't have done it in 2020. You know?
That's true.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah, I know. So it's been that long, but that's when Hannah and I met. Yeah. And we just like kicked it off right away. We're like walking down the halls. They're showing us around and we're like in the side, like talking and like, you know.
Well, and it helped too that you guys had a mutual friend too, like, you know, Danielle.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I think sometimes with those meet and greet things, they can be kind of overwhelming. So you definitely, sometimes you just naturally gravitate towards someone that kind of knows you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's
like,
up, Danielle?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was so awesome. But but so tell me, so we met at Moody because at the time, that's where you were working.
Yes.
And are you still working there or?
No, I have shifted gears. I wanted to finish my degree in, I am getting my master's in clinical mental health. And so in order to do that, I had to make a career shift. And I wanted to continue to do radio and it just didn't work out. And so, but at the time I was a on-air host along with, air contributor and sound engineer for the morning show.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I also wrote my own radio feature that was national. It was a 1-minute feature and it's called That's Real Radio with Hannah Lynn.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's crazy. I love it. And is that still, like, you can still listen to those? Like, are they still?
They are still up on iTunes. They are not on Moody's website anymore because when I stopped working there, they kind of discontinued that show,
that makes sense,
which makes sense. You know, you can't really have it without Hannah Lynn.
You hear my voice on there.
You can't. So I was like, Lord, what am I going to do next? You know, because with counseling, it's a different muscle because you're listening. So you're not ever like, you're learning how to listen to people's stories and provide insight. So it's very different from communication as I had known it for like 8 years, you know, because I had done radio for 8 years.
And were you specifically at Moody for 8 years?
Yes. Wow. So I was on Moody Radio for 8 years in various different positions. I worked my way through all of the shows. So I worked on like Janet Parshall's show. Yeah,
love me some Janet.
I know, like Chris Brooks and, you know, just every single show that you can think of with Moody Radio. And if you're not familiar, it's a great show, just station, because it's very Bible-based. And I met some amazing people and and I was young. I mean, I think I was 20. Yeah, 21 when I jumped in and met the people that I met. So they know me for a long time through various seasons of Hannah.
So you grew up exactly.
I grew up on radio.
Yeah, I love it. So let me ask, let's go further back because I always like to, on this channel, I always love to see where the story kind of started. So what got you into loving radio, just loving, you know, just speaking and just being in that environment? Where can you kind of go back to like the inception of that?
Yeah. Man. Yeah, we can go back far. I mean, I've always really loved speaking and I don't know why, but I always wanted to do that. I don't think that I knew in what capacity or what I wanted to say or communicate. But I can remember going to Focus on the Family when I was like 12. And we went to Adventures in Odyssey's studio, like where they made...
That sounds so familiar.
So it's like if you grew up Christian, evangelical, you've probably listened to a couple of these episodes.
Oh, wow.
It's all on cassette tapes, and then they had it on like CDs.
Okay.
But it's a whole, I don't know, it's like a whole world, and they use Foley. Do you know about Foley?
I think so.
So it's it's how you make sound effects
Okay.
through radio.
Oh, okay.
And all of it, like they had like a whole Foley studio, and it's just so fun.
Dope.
And I remember this.
Yeah, because you're taking me back when you said cassette tapes. I'm thinking about remember Salty?
No, I don't remember Salty.
You remember Salty?
No, I don't
Oh
know
my
what that
goodness.
is.
Oh my gosh. All right, we're going back to our childhood now.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So Salty was like this. It was cassette tapes, and he looked like the Bible. And his face was like on the side.
It might be coming back to me.
Yeah, his face was on the side of it. And it was
Okay.
kind of like, I guess, like Psalm. So that's why his name was like Saul
Yes.
or whatever. And like it was just like tell Bible stories like these kids. And I just remember that growing up. That's all we listened to.
I feel like I remember that.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I'll send you that one, and you send me the one you're talking about.
Okay,
yeah,
that sounds
there we
good.
go.
Okay, so that's when I loved it. We did like we read scripts, and I was Connie in the script, and that's when I realized I was like, oh my gosh, it would be so cool to have this type of job. Fast forward, I went to undergrad for counseling, so I've been working on this counseling degree for a long time. But I had been nannying through college.
Okay.
And at one point I ran into this nannying family, and it wasn't working out, but I was making good money. And I was like, Lord, I really like making this money in college. And so I was praying for another job. And I went to the coffee shop on the campus, and one of my professors, Michael Rydelnik, he was there, and he said, hey, I need someone to help me with social media. Would you be willing to run my Twitter page? Yeah. And listen, I didn't know anything about Twitter at that time. I didn't even have one for myself. Yeah. But I started realizing that I loved just this merge of like something traditional, like a Q&A radio show where people call in and ask Bible questions. Yep. Amazing. And then pairing it with social media, I loved it. Yeah. Because this is such a traditional, like radio is such a traditional medium, but it's still the biggest audience left. Like it's bigger than any podcast can ever get still because of the opportunity. But it's still very inflexible. And so our generation doesn't always understand it. But once you get into it and you understand it, you appreciate it so much because it's such a traditional medium. But you pair it with something like social media. And it's a blast.
Something more modern.
Yes.
And then you create something brand new.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, so that's how it got started. I didn't realize when he asked me that I would be asking the questions on the air. So I asked the Twitter questions of him on the air.
No way.
Yeah.
And that's the start. And you just loved it.
It was a start, and I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. See, those opportunities. And it's funny, I love how you mentioned, I didn't know, I was doing. I think as creatives, we kind of put ourselves in different situations where it's like, I've never necessarily done this, but I feel like I have the capacity or the capability to do it. And you just try it. I feel like we kind of venture out. And you're a creative, but you're also an entrepreneur too. So I think a lot of times we venture into new realms and just kind of just go for it.
Yes.
And I love that about you. Even with your transition, so transitioning from Moody, you went into a new season, and what led to the new season, and what are you doing now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that went into it, and I won't cover all of it, but I think the biggest thing for me was just health. Like, one was wanting to finish something that I had started, which is getting a master's and actually being able to practice as a therapist. Like, that's been a goal of mine since I was like 18, So I think that accomplishing that goal of mine, and then also I was doing night school and the morning show. Wow. And I was just burnt out. Yeah. Like, I just got to the season of, so broadcasters are essential workers. Okay. So I had worked all the way through the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
And there was just something mentally that just, it was a grind to begin with. Like, morning shows in general are a grind. It's 4 hours of nonstop live radio, and I'm the one pushing all the buttons. It's such a grind. And then on top of it, going through a pandemic, driving into some rioting that had happened in Chicago, like those things, just I could feel my body taking it on. And so, I felt like I needed to rest, and it wouldn't have worked for me to get the 700 hours that I needed as a intern therapist.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I had to kind of take a break from the morning show. Yeah.
That's, I love that you mentioned you paid attention to your body.
Yes.
You felt the pressure, the stress, because a lot of times, especially so in our generation, in our culture, in our nation, even, we still push through and just grind and just keep working to our demise, and we need to really pay attention to that. It's so dangerous,
It is.
Yeah, so I love that you paid attention to your body, and just you just felt in your spirit a shift, like this thing that has always been there since you said you were 18. That's what you wanted to venture into, and you're like, man, I can't. I got to make room for it,
Yeah, and the other thing is, I'm teaching the Bible to a huge audience, and I always wanted to make this impact. Like, I really wanted to make this impact for Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that, yes, I can't really see the impact that I'm making, by teaching the Bible over the radio, but there's something so powerful about sitting with an individual at a very broken time in their life and being one-on-one with them and being a listening ear.
Yeah.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I feel like that for me right now in this season, maybe that changes, and I still love communications and I love radio and I love audio. But for me, the one-on-one experience with an individual and face-to-face and saying, I see you, instead of like the masses, holy cow, it is like so much more powerful.
Yeah.
And so it's a really rewarding career shift.
Yeah.
Even more so than this huge audience.
Yeah. Wow. I love that so much. As an artist, we were just talking a little bit before we started about music, and Hannah,
I dabble.
Dabble a little bit in
Yes,
music,
a little bit.
Yeah. But like we were just talking about music and stuff, and just like as a musician, that's the thing. Like those years when we couldn't like perform and everything, that was so difficult. Like it's nice, like we have the studio here recording music, of course, but man, like this past year, getting back on stage and performing and just connecting with people, because I love when I have the opportunity afterwards talking to individuals on the side, like you were just saying, like those are the moments for me. Like as you can tell, like I'm very extroverted and stuff. So like I love just talking to people, man. It's like my favorite thing. I like get energy, from that, So yeah, I completely see what you're saying with that.
Yeah, and I think too that's where the work happens.
Yeah.
Like you connecting with people who initially liked your music, but then connecting with them face to face, that's the work.
Yeah.
Like in a good way. Like that's the job. Sometimes as artists, I think we get so much into our craft and what do we look like and what and our image and who are we, behind and off of the mic. Yeah. But when you go face to face with people who are your peers or are fans of your work, like I think that is really what is going to make a change,
Yeah.
And there was somebody, I won't mention the name, but there was just a very popular artist. And I remember him telling me that the hardest part is the interactions with his fans, just because of how much it can be.
Yeah.
But that is where the work is, that is where like connecting with people, and that's the hard part, but it's rewarding, It's
kind of like the idea of like, a text as opposed to a phone call
or driving
face to face. Exactly. Yeah. It's like all these different layers that you can unravel the closer you get to someone, and everything. So, and
I think people who are like on a show, like for me, I was on the morning show for 6 years. Yeah. You get really safe behind the mic. You get really safe, and then in a way of like I can control how I'm gonna sound, or I don't need to. It doesn't need to always be a dialogue. But when you meet people face to face, that's where the connection happens.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so good. Okay, now you have a few things kind of going. Now, I feel like right now I can think of 3. If there's more, let me know. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about your podcast, and then your business, because all this whole thing is about like promoting creatives and artists. So I really want you guys to know what Hannah is out here doing. So Hannah has a podcast as well, and my wife Gabby and I, we pretty much listen to all of them. Like,
really?
Like straight up. So like the last one was so good. Like when you were talking about anger, I was like, oh, son of a gun, this was so good. Like, it was so good. And I texted Gabby literally. I was like, babe, you got to listen to the next one. It's out. So like, yeah, we love it.
So much.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but we got to make sure we leave reviews and ratings and stuff because that's what helps. So I'm going to make sure to do that for you. Yeah, so do that for this too. And Hannah. So, But Hannah's going to talk about her podcast a bit now and tell us what I guess what the themes are, all of that.
Yeah, definitely. So when you work at a big radio station, this just happens where your content is not your own. And so when I broke away from Moody, I was able to do a little bit more creativity with it. So with Moody, I would always teach the Bible, and I absolutely love it. And I think I fell in love with it on Moody Radio. Yeah. And so we're still doing that, and that is like so much fun for me, like teaching the Bible and taking it apart with people and because there's always something to be able to just remind ourselves. Right? I know, because there's just so much.
I know, same black and white text, and every time I read it, it's like, oh my goodness, a whole new revelation.
And I think it's easier for me because literally I just let the Holy Spirit speak. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So we still have that component on the podcast. So I start off with a little devotional every time. And then I throw in some fashion, which, Moody Bible Institute and fashion, maybe not their thing, but it's okay. That's why it's so much fun to be doing a podcast like on my own, doing my thing. And I've always loved fashion. Always loved it. I started a fashion blog in 2015 and I had so much fun with it, so much opportunity. So like fashion blogs started out a little bit more in the beginning of the 2000s, right? And then something called Instagram came up and they kind of took a little bit longer to merge like social media and fashion. Together, their fashion blog. And so I was like one of the first people to start making the fashion content on Instagram. And so I just kept going with that. Yeah.
I love it. That's so cool. Now you got to tell us what's the name of the podcast.
Okay, yes.
And then where'd that name come from? Because I love the name. Yep.
Okay, so it's You Are Covered podcast. Okay, because...
So it's not You're Covered.
No, it's you are.
Okay, I saw 2 letters, but I always read it you're.
Yeah.
My bad.
You are covered. Okay,
there
but you can say however you want. Just know that it starts with a U, not a Y.
Exactly.
But it's because I wanted a title that kind of encompassed all of the things that I want to talk about. Because the third thing is mental health, and for me, I felt like those were the 3 things that would. If I started my day with those 3 things, I feel like I would be covered.
Yeah, I love it.
So, my target audience is for, females. And I just feel like those are the 3 things that I feel like every girl should know more about. For fun, I think the fashion part is a great connection piece. I think that every girl should know more about theology. Keep diving into it. If I can learn about theology, you can. And then I also think that mental health is so important and key right now that and it's my expertise. And so I'm just going to throw that in for free, so that at the end of the podcast, it'll be like, oh yeah. Okay, I'm covered.
Yeah.
And then the 4th piece of it that just encompasses the whole thing of the title is that, you are covered in God's grace, in what Jesus Christ did on the cross for your sins. Amen. Like, you don't have to be working for it. You don't have to be striving for it. You have so much freedom. And that is truly what it feels like to be covered, is when you have a relationship with Jesus Christ. So, there.
That's awesome. Yeah, there. Boom. There we go. Boom. I love it. That's so awesome. I mean, so I guess I'm one of the few gentlemen that love the podcast. Yeah. Since it's for ladies.
I don't think you're one of the few, but that's my target audience. But you know what I mean? Like with the fashion piece, it's more history and fashion psychology. So I can see why guys like it. And so I was pleasantly surprised about the stats.
Yeah. It's so cool. I love it. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's Hannah's podcast. So You Are Covered. We're going to have all those links. So you make sure you click it and follow and subscribe and all of that good stuff. Okay, so then that's that. But you have your business as well.
Yes.
We've been trying to connect with this business piece,
Yeah.
So I want to see how we can make something flow from this and how many of you guys will be interested in this as well. So check out what Hannah's business is. So
it's called Abundantly More Media. It's my media company right now. The clients that I've been taking on have been mostly social media management. And so I have like a package that I'll do, and it'll be like content creation if that's something that you need, or if you just need someone to push out your content. Because as creatives, we're always creating and then we forget to promote.
Yeah.
And that's where my company takes that burden off of you as a creative and will just help you push content out. And so I have like metrics that I'll show you, like I'll break it all down for you. And so social media management has been kind of what I found to be my niche. I also do brand coaching. So if you want to, I have a lot of experience of branding shows, branding sites, blogs, businesses. And so if you just need a month to sit with somebody who's been doing it for a while now, like you just can call me up and we'll get you scheduled out for brand coaching. So those are the two things that I've been focusing on.
I love it.
Yeah. And it's been really fun.
Yeah, I love it. And just delegating, being able to delegate that over to another business. Because again, like you said, as creatives, we create stuff, but then I have, like, for this, I carve out the time to, edit it, to promote it.
Yeah.
And okay, now I got to promote on Facebook. Now, send the email, Instagram, all of this stuff. And all that time can be towards creating more content.
Yes.
So it's always nice to delegate that over. Now, I have so many different things that I do. Like, I have a few businesses.
Isn't that just like a creative?
I know. It's like, I have a few. So I've been sitting here trying to think, like, which one I really want to jump in with you on.
Yeah.
Or which ones, or if there's some type of like package group thing, I don't know what you do yet or whatever. But I definitely want to link up with you because that's going to help. And I want you to speak at one of our actual Creative Encounter events.
That would be fun.
Yeah, because the people who come out, let them know, because I think that will really spark some interest. Like, oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. It's so helpful for creatives. I mean, just what you're saying, it's like, I get it.
Yeah, seriously. So, so I love that. And then, okay, so those are the two. I think those are the two main things. Now, what's something that I may have missed with something that you're kind of like operating, something that's in the works as of right now?
No, I think you hit it. I think the big project for me right now has been the podcast and just trying to kind of create this community around those three things. And I have a newsletter and, my website's always available. And so that's been, my biggest project right now that is just creative and fun and free. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it really is.
It
like,
is.
Even it's like,
so
we're just
freeing.
talking. It just feels so good, just like,
it does. And connecting with people that are like-minded, it's such a cool connection point. And I think when you're really stepping into your creative outlet, you feel that. Like, you can meet people that are like-minded and you're like, wow, I really fit here, and and I hope that that's what people find on your show, because it can be lonely and because creatives are so unique. They don't really fit in. Like, listen, I was at Bible college and I did not fit in. I was like, why do these people not laugh? Okay.
Why not laughing at my job? I know I'm funny.
Okay. Why aren't you thinking I'm funny? Everyone's so serious here. Okay.
The scriptures say, "Thou shalt not laugh."
Yeah. If we get another debate about such and such, I'm going to scream.
It reminds me of Kim Walker.
Maybe.
It reminds me of Kim Walker. One time she was talking about how like God understands her sense of humor and like she's just like really silly and sometimes like she's just so free when she's able to just like be expressive in that way.
Yeah.
So we'll never forget that, like just like being yourself. Like God created your personality.
100%.
Yeah, and it's just so beautiful. You know, I love it.
And
That's
I
think
as creatives and maybe someone with a personality, like if you don't find your niche or find the place where you belong, and like, hey, join the creative side. Maybe that's where you're supposed to fit in, because honestly, it can feel like you don't fit in, and it's not a fun space to be in. And honestly, I don't think I felt like I fit in until I got into radio. Like, I'm like, oh, wow, my personality isn't horrible, isn't like loud.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I can use this for something.
There we go.
Hey, put a mic in front of me and see what I do.
Man, I love it. That's so awesome.
And you won't ever find it unless you say yes.
Man, that's so true. Man, this is so cool. So look, guys. So again, I want you guys to follow You Are Covered. That is key. Follow You Are Covered. And then I want you to follow. And then what's the name of the business once more?
Abundantly More Media.
Abundantly More Media. Okay, that's her business.
Facebook, Instagram, all the things.
And then I'm probably going to do a testimonial because I'm going to link up with Hannah on Abundantly More because I definitely need that. I definitely need that. Yeah, we got to talk like this week, like straight up.
Let's do it.
Yes. But yes, make sure you guys link up with her because those are some amazing things she's doing to just change the game, guys. I absolutely love it. So Hannah, so same thing I did with Liv on the last one on Spotify. And you actually helped me with Spotify. Y'all know if you know, but when I saw your podcast and how they now have the video component.
I know.
Like, that's so dope.
I know. It's so fun.
I love it. So that's when I was like, went to that website to connect those pieces. That was awesome. But then I also saw that you can put questions on there too.
Yes.
So what's something I'm giving you free reign to ask them a question, and I'm going to put that on the podcast for them to answer on the Spotify and YouTube. So what's something that you want to take away for them to, answer? Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. What would be the next step for you? Like, what is the next step that you would need to continue to be a creative? Because, it can feel so huge, and like what we were talking about with social media and everything. What is the next step for you to take that would push you in the right direction? Because sometimes it can be, maybe linking up with somebody who can help you with social media. Maybe it is talking to somebody, right, that knows something about branding. So just think about what is the next step and let us know about it. I would love to know because maybe it's my next step.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for joining me today. This was so cool. Yeah. Guys, make sure to check out Hannah Lynn Miller. All the details will be in the description. And remember, Creative Encounter is a nonprofit and we are a ministry. So if you want to support this ministry, support the podcast, support all of the events that we have monthly, please consider partnering with us. And the link will be below to partner with this ministry. We love you guys and appreciate you so much for tuning in. Hannah, once again, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. See you guys next time.